You know, Rooster Teeth has always been a great company because, well, I think whenever they tackle any medium of pop culture, they always have success. Red vs. Blue is a prime example of how they reached the masses and not only garnered critical reception, but also a revitalization of everything machinima related. Season 8 through 10 were interesting, however, because of the introduction of Monty Oum, a visual artist who works with many projects such as Afro Samurai and his Dead Fantasy web series, captivating audiences so much that Rooster Teeth decided to hire him on for their particular seasons for the animations and multitude of over-the-top fight sequences. However, he had one condition. That condition? To make Rooster Teeth's first anime-style web series, with him as the main creative mind. So come today's review of Rooster Teeth's new baby, RWBY. RWBY is an action-packed animated series produced by Monty Oum that tells the story about a team of huntresses who battle the forces of evil with magical weaponry, while training and learning these magical weaponry at a high school called Beacon Academy. Everyone who was an anime fan went ballistic when this came out. Forums blasted, Tumblr blasted, and fan-made material had even come up to openly love the living fuck out of RWBY. However, is Rooster Teeth's new gem something polished or something that isn't worth digging up in the first place? Well, let's look into it. Let's start with the story of RWBY, which is pretty much a show mainly centered on a team of girls fighting monsters. Well, if you came for that, then you'll be a little bit disappointed. The show is mostly just a forming of RWBY, and that's it. Keep in mind that this is the first season and not the second one, which by the time of this review will already be out. However, the story of the first season is just the trials the team goes through and issues they tackle. The mythos of the universe they created is very interesting and gives life to a story that the characters progress through. However, the main problem with the story is not the meat of it, but really the structure of it. The first few episodes are very well done and give us all the action, comedy, and drama we'd expect from a show from Rooster Teeth. However, once we get out of that stage, we fall into an abyss of cliché plot lines and very generic characters.
See? I told you!
For example, I think I can come from a lot of people that say that the bully part of the season was the one that almost killed the show's interest. Another thing that ruins the structure is the introduction of new characters. Not to say that they're bad, but they're really rushed and don't give a lot based on the time they are given. Especially two particular characters by the end of the first season. I want to see more of them and their personalities, but instead we're just given one fight that honestly wasn't that big of a climax to the first season. Lastly, the episode formats are sometimes way too short or way too long, and don't give me much to satisfy with.
Zed.
Pyrrha, I made the torch. Could you at least humor me for maybe 5 more feet?
However, these sort of writing problems don't just come from one project from Rooster Teeth, it's pretty relevant throughout each project they do. Don't get me wrong though, I love the story in Red vs. Blue, but when it's supposed to be dramatic and serious, the story sadly falls flat. It works better as just a funny little action comedy and not a space drama. Same goes to RWBY, and is very unbalanced and frequently poor pacing.
Find out. Step forward and face your opponent.
Next we go to the biggest thing that draws the series to us, the animation and fight sequences. Let's face it guys, it's goddamn Monty Oum at his damnest when it comes to fighting. Fluid, exhilarating, and over the top. The fight scenes are the highlight of the show. I also like the design of some of these characters. They all have very unique colors and clothing that make them stand out. And I really did the addition of shadowing some of the audiences so that the main characters can stand out even more. Kind of reminds you of Soul Eater, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm thinking we don't get paid enough.
However, while the action and designs are very good, the animation of the show is very subpar. The animation on the human models are okay, especially since this is their first season and sometimes motion capturing is pretty difficult to come around. However, the backgrounds aren't that interesting since they don't look detailed or even that outstanding, and sometimes the show is guilty of using a lot of the same movement actions just too many times. And as best as they try to hide it, it becomes very noticeable and sometimes sucks some of the action out. Yet through all of my problems with some elements, the animation is still the best thing the show has to offer. Next up is the characters, so let's get to know the range of characters in Season 1 that matter the most. RWBY is energetic, sometimes childish, and is the leader of Team RWBY. In many respects, she gives a lot of emotion and depth to her character than most others, and has good development in trying to be a leader. All around, a good main lead to start off with. Wise is arrogant, sassy, and very eccentric, usually being the one that amplifies the problem before even solving it. It took me honestly a little while to get used to her personality, but as I look deeper into her, you can see a bit of a tragedy in her life, and honestly can vouch for her at points in the story. Both her and RWBY get the most development of the team, while the other two hardly get any development.
Well, maybe we were just tired of being pushed around.
Okay, there is Blake, the loner of the group who has a decent backstory, but not a lot out of just that, even with the story arc that centers around her past by the very end of the season. Then there's RWBY's sister Yang, a badass in her own right that has the least developments thus far. We'll get more of her hopefully in the future, but for this season, she just looks pretty and that's pretty much it.
You...
You monster!
The supporting cast outside the main ones aren't really special in the beginning, but we do win them over by the end. There's Team Juniper, consisting of John, Nora, Rain, and Pyra, who take up, surprisingly, a lot of screen time that matches the main characters.
What?
No, wait, get me out of here. Please, don't do it. Oh, come on.
I didn't land far from the school.
They are good characters nonetheless. John is a wimpy dork who learns the role of leadership just like RWBY did. Nora is a walking meme book. Pyra, who serves as John's voice of wisdom. And Rain, voiced by Monty Oum, just flips around and does... nothing.
I don't think sloths make a lot of noise.
That's why it's perfect! No one will suspect we're working together.
They are so prevalent in the fact that it brings up another problem in that the season develops both RWBY and Weiss respectively, but fumbles when Juniper gets more development than even Blake and Yang, who are supposed to be the main characters. Every other character in the series either play a role in the story or hardly have any significance whatsoever. The teachers are standard teachers, the bully is a generic and albeit annoying bully stereotype with no redeeming qualities whatsoever, and villains that look cool but don't play a part in many events in the first season. Until we get more, the list of good characters are sort of split. For we have some very good characters, but little development for the important ones. They're all fine on their own, and move the story along accordingly.
So you would just blindly accept his decision, even after seeing how exceptional I am?
With all due respect, your exceptional skill on the battlefield is matched only by your poor attitude.
How dare you?
My point exactly.
Finally, we come to the little things that don't really matter but should be noted since it does play a role in the story: the sound. First, let's touch upon the voice acting because honestly, from the trailers, they were near bad and probably halted the hype train a little bit for personal enjoyment. But as the series went on, the voice acting was actually pretty well done, and I can't wait to see how much they'll improve by the next season. Sure, there were some hiccups when it came to some characters not sounding right or others not really trying as hard, but those are very minor and don't take away from the series' great moments.
Cool. I stole you some food.
Do you always break the law without a second thought?
Hey, weren't you in a cult or something? Okay, too soon.
Speaking of great, the music and sound quality is freaking awesome! Each sound is bombastic and energized with a few nods to classic Japanese sound effects, while the music, oh my god, it is fantastic.
I wasn't dreaming when they told me you were gone. I was wide awake and feeling that they had to be wrong. How could you leave me when you swore that you would stay? Now I'm stuck inside of every single effing day. It's like a movie, but there's not a happy ending. Every scene's made black and there's no pretending. This little fairy tale doesn't seem to end well. There's no nothing trending. I'm real wavy from the phone.
The style of rock and techno are very fitting to the series and is also a great listen to without the series intact. The music matches the series to a T and is always my favorite part of the show.
His wing, and now I'm all like...
So I've noticed. And what is an adorable girl such as yourself doing at a school designed to train warriors?
Well, I want to be a huntress.
Now, I'm not one to be too mean to a series that just began, but keep in mind that Rooster Teeth is a great indie company and have some very talented staff at their studio. But if some of the story elements and the characters get tweaked a bit more, then the series would have had a stronger start. It's still a really good in many aspects, but the aspects that are important aren't very well executed or looked into. This series has potential, and it knows that, so hopefully by next season this little series can fix those problems and turn them into solutions. It comes with practice, so I give them the best of luck for bringing something this good to their company's fans. Go watch and see for yourself if this is either the show for you or a show you don't mind skipping.
Can I?